The lights burned brilliantly in Windsor Castle's grandest hall. A night of royal unity and carefully curated charity was supposed to unfold. King Charles moved through the room with practiced warmth, speaking with donors, embodying the image of a monarch at peace. But Prince William wasn't just attending, he was orchestrating every detail. While Charles played the ceremonial role, William managed the logistics. Everything ran flawlessly. Then an uninvited car pulled up. Tom Parker Bowles stepped out holding a golden embossed invitation, radiating the confidence of someone convinced he'd already won. He walked directly towards security with absolute certainty, the kind you have seconds before a hard fall. He introduced himself as Camilla's son from her first marriage, claimed King Charles had personally invited him, and expected the guards to wave him through without question. But they checked the guest list, the one Prince William had personally approved hours earlier. His name wasn't there, not due to oversight, not due to error, simply, he was never invited. The security chief delivered the message calmly. The message was clear. Tom Parker Bowles' confidence evaporated as reality set in. His voice rose. He waved the invitation like a talisman that should unlock any door. He demanded to know if these guards understood who his mother was. He threatened consequences they'd regret. The guards remained unmoved. They'd been trained for exactly this moment, and more important, they'd already received explicit orders directly from Prince William about what to do if Camilla's son tried to slip into a royal event. As Tom Parker Bowles unraveled at the doors, inside the ballroom, William's phone vibrated. He stepped away from the crowd, took the call, and something shifted immediately. His jaw tightened visibly. His gaze turned cold in a way few present had ever witnessed. He ordered security to keep Tom Parker Bowles outside, period. He said he'd handle it personally. William looked across the room at his father. Charles was still conversing with donors, completely unaware of the Confrontation building at the castle's perimeter. In that moment, William made a decision that would define far more than one evening. He wasn't going to let this slide. He wasn't going to allow Camilla's family to impose themselves on the season's most important public event. He knew exactly what would happen if Tom Parker Bowles got inside. The photographs would circulate, the headlines would write themselves, the public would interpret his presence as official recognition. That precedent could not be set. William left the ballroom and headed straight for the doors. But to understand why William reacted so firmly, you need to know what happened a month earlier in a private meeting at Clarence House. Camilla had sat across from William and made her pitch. She wanted her son to attend the next charity gala as an officially recognized family member. Her argument was simple. It would reaffirm his position within the royal structure. Charles wanted harmony, she claimed. It was just one night. No one would make a big deal of it. William listened carefully to every word. Then he rejected it flat, not diplomatically. He left no room for negotiation. He told her plainly that if Tom Parker Bowles appeared at an important royal event, the public would interpret it as official recognition. That would never happen. He said the royal family wasn't a platform for private families to expand influence through backdoor public appearances. The conversation ended with Camilla leaving with an expression William couldn't read. It wasn't acceptance. He knew she wouldn't accept the rejection. Despite that clear rejection, Tom Parker Bowles showed up that night at Windsor Castle with an invitation. Someone had given him access after the proposal was explicitly denied. William was certain Camilla had orchestrated it. She'd calculated that at such a high-profile public event, William wouldn't dare create a scandal by physically removing her son. He'd be forced to stay silent to protect the carefully maintained image of the royal family. That was her leverage, or so she believed. When Prince William reached the castle doors, the atmosphere was suffocating. Tom Parker Bowles was flushed and sweating despite the cool night. He gestured aggressively at the security chief and shouted, demanding to know who his mother was. When he saw William, panic flashed across his face before shifting into resentment. He went on the attack. He demanded to know how William dared block his entry. He insisted King Charles had personally invited him. He accused William of deliberately humiliating his family out of personal resentment. William didn't flinch. He maintained absolute composure. He looked Tom Parker Bowles directly in the eye and stated the truth plainly. His name wasn't on the guest list. He was never invited. The royal family doesn't operate as a platform for private families to infiltrate through pressure and schemes. That's when Tom Parker Bowles completely unraveled. His face contorted with rage and humiliation. He took a step forward, and then he said something that fundamentally changed what was happening. He said Diana was just a replacement, that she was never worthy of the position, that Camilla's family was the one who truly belonged, that Camilla was who Charles really loved, that William was simply getting revenge on his biological mother out of jealousy. Think about this carefully, regardless of what anyone thinks of the people involved. Saying that to Prince William at Windsor Castle in front of palace staff and security about his mother who died when he was 15 isn't a mistake. That's crossing the line. You could see William's reaction. The attack had found its mark. His eyes burned with controlled fury. Memories flooded back instantly. Everything Diana had suffered because of Camilla, years of childhood pain that shaped the man he'd become. Everything returned to him in that moment. But he didn't explode. He breathed deeply with visible determination. He controlled his emotions with enormous effort. His voice became ice. He said Diana was his mother. She was an inseparable part of the royal family's history. Camilla's family wasn't going to weaponize the monarchy for personal influence. Then he gave the final order: remove Tom Parker Bowles from the castle grounds immediately. Security moved instantly. 2 guards positioned themselves on either side of Tom Parker Bowles and gripped his arms. They escorted him as he struggled, screaming that William would regret this decision. His shouts faded as they removed him from the doors. William remained there, watching until he completely disappeared. The confrontation lasted less than 5 minutes. Dozens of palace staff witnessed it from beginning to end. The news spread through Windsor Castle like wildfire. Prince William had personally thrown out Camilla's son. Palace staff whispered to each other within seconds. The story propagated mouth to mouth even before William returned to the gala. He turned and walked back toward the ballroom. Before entering, he stopped. He breathed deeply. He knew this couldn't stay hidden forever. Eventually the media would dig. Eventually the story would leak. But he'd stopped the critical thing, preventing a dangerous precedent. Tom Parker Bowles didn't set foot in the gala. He wasn't photographed with royal family members. The public didn't wake up to headlines about official recognition of Camilla's son. That particular door didn't open. But the story didn't end at those gates. That same night, while Windsor's lights still flickered and the gala wound down, a silent counterattack began online. An anonymous post appeared and spread with stunning speed. The content was poisonous and carefully crafted. It presented Prince William as someone acting emotionally and irrationally. It accused him of taking personal revenge on his biological mother by throwing Camilla's son out of a charity event. The post was shared thousands of times. Negative comments flooded in. A PR firestorm erupted before William even left the castle. William was in a temporary office when his assistant informed him. He read the post. His expression darkened. He knew immediately this wasn't spontaneous public opinion. It was a deliberate, calculated attempt to manipulate the narrative. Someone was working to present him as the aggressor instead of the provoked party. He was right about everything. The truth surfaced quickly. Tom Parker Bowles, after being humiliated and thrown out of Windsor Castle, refused to stay silent. Furious, he contacted a member of Camilla's security staff. He gave them a version of events that favored him. He paid them a substantial sum to get a journalist to write a defamatory article. The piece emphasized William's revenge for Diana and his refusal to grant his stepmother's family a relevant place in the institution. Tom Parker Bowles was still trembling with rage when he made that call. With resentment in his voice, he asked them to get it written so everyone would see William's true face. He said his family couldn't be trampled this way. The post went out from an anonymous account, but William didn't wait for rumors to spread. He ordered the royal cybersecurity team and communications advisors to trace it that same night. Within 2 hours, the results came back, and they were stunning, though not actually surprising. The post originated from a computer in Camilla's private office at Clarence House. Think about this. The anonymous smear campaign against Prince William came directly from the office of the Queen Consort. Whether or not Camilla personally wrote it, her office had become the operational source of an attack against the heir to the throne. Her son used her resources, her staff, her contacts, and her office to launch a media counterattack designed to make William look like the villain. This wasn't a son acting impulsively out of anger. This was an operation. By the next morning, pressure on the royal office intensified considerably. They were forced to issue a vague response, but silence only fueled rumors and speculation. William sensed the danger immediately. If he didn't reveal the truth quickly, his image would suffer irreparable long-term damage. So he convened a small group, 2 trusted advisors and a technology expert. They worked silently through the night gathering evidence, emails between Tom Parker Bowles and the journalist, call records, transfer records showing payments, and most critically, definitive confirmation that the IP address came from Camilla's office. The deeper they dug, the clearer the complete picture became. This wasn't an impulsive act by Tom Parker Bowles acting alone. It was part of Camilla's long-term strategy to protect her increasingly precarious position within the institution. She feared William was acquiring too much power and influence, so she played dirty. She secretly provided the invitation while simultaneously preparing a media counterattack in case the plan failed. It was a 2-level strategy: get Tom Parker Bowles into the gala if possible. If that failed, use his exclusion to generate sympathy and present William as cruel and vindictive. But Camilla didn't know William already had everything documented. While she still hoped the anonymous post would pressure him into backing down, the heir had already assembled irrefutable evidence and was ready to act. That same night, after Windsor Castle fell silent, William didn't rest. He read the investigation report, he stared at the evidence laid before him, and he said there was no doubt. Everything originated in Camilla's office. The next morning, he moved quickly. William met privately with the security staffer Tom Parker Bowles had paid. In a private room with a lawyer present as witness, the man confessed everything when faced with irrefutable evidence. He said Tom Parker Bowles had contacted him at midnight, furious and demanding. He wanted the staffer to write a defamatory article about Prince William as revenge. He said he'd only agreed because of the money and pressure. With that testimony in hand, William knew it was time. He requested an emergency meeting with King Charles and Camilla that same night at Buckingham Palace. No warning, no time for anyone to prepare their version. The atmosphere in the meeting room was oppressive and heavy. Charles sat at the head of the table. Exhaustion was clearly visible on his face. Camilla sat beside him, trying to maintain composure, but she gripped the edge of her dress so tightly her knuckles turned white. William entered and placed a thick folder of documents on the table. He began. His voice was firm. He laid everything out systematically. Tom Parker Bowles had hired Camilla's security staffer to publish an anonymous article defaming him immediately after being thrown out of the gala. Camilla went pale instantly. She tried to deny it. Her voice trembled as she claimed to know nothing about the post. William cut her off. His tone was glacial. He said she knew exactly what had happened. She'd secretly given the invitation to Tom Parker Bowles after William had explicitly rejected her. She'd calculated that William would stay silent to avoid scandal. When the plan failed, she let her son counterattack through media, using resources from her own office. This wasn't a personal mistake made in anger. It was a deliberate strategy. He opened each document page, presenting the evidence with clarity. The midnight call from Tom Parker Bowles to the journalist, the money transfer, the complete testimony from the staffer. Each piece landed like weight on a scale. Camilla tried to defend herself. Her voice weakened. She said she only wanted the family to be recognized, but Charles remained silent for a long time. Deep disappointment was written across his face. He looked at Camilla, then at his son. Finally he spoke. His voice carried the weight of what he was about to say. He said he'd hoped it was simply a family conflict, but it was clearly a power struggle. His wife had deliberately tried to force her son into a royal event, and then slandered the heir to the throne. He couldn't tolerate it. No king could. William continued, and his words resonated with enormous weight. He said he wasn't doing this from personal hatred, but for the future of the royal family. If they allowed private calculations and power struggles to continue unchecked, they'd lose all public trust. Diana had suffered enough because of these exact dynamics. He wouldn't allow history to repeat itself. The room was charged with emotion and a sense of final judgment. Camilla lowered her head. Tears ran down her face. Not from remorse, but because she knew she'd lost. She'd made a catastrophic miscalculation. Charles breathed deeply and announced the final decision. Effective immediately, Camilla's family would no longer participate in important internal events. Tom Parker Bowles was completely barred from all royal activities. The consequences were swift and irreversible. What happened in the weeks that followed reveals where real power currently sits. Camilla kept the title of Queen Consort, but she became increasingly isolated. Ceremonies became less frequent. Scheduled official tours were rescheduled. Even private meetings with Charles became rare. Her family was systematically sidelined. Meanwhile, William's image became more prominent at important events. He led charitable activities. He made strategic decisions, and the public began viewing him as the true pillar of the monarchy. The contrast was undeniable. On one side, a queen consort who overreached and watched her influence evaporate within weeks. On the other, an heir who demonstrated willingness to act decisively to protect the institution, even when it meant publicly confronting his stepmother's son. What makes this entire situation so revealing isn't just the confrontation at the door, it's the underlying pattern. Camilla spent years fighting to secure her position within the royal family. The moment she tried to extend that position to her children from her first marriage, she hit a wall named William. She was badly mistaken. She assumed fear of public scandal would protect her. She believed William would prioritize the royal family's image over setting clear boundaries. But William understood something she didn't. Allowing Tom Parker Bowles through those doors would have created a far bigger long-term problem than the momentary embarrassment of removing him. It would have established that Camilla's family had official status. It would have suggested they could appear at major royal events as recognized members. It would have blurred the line between the Windsors and the Parker Bowles in public perception. William saw that precedent and eliminated it at the root. Then there's the smear campaign. The fact that the anonymous post traced back to Camilla's office changes everything. It transforms the story from a complicated family dispute into something far more calculated and deliberate. Someone in that office, with access and resources directly connected to the Queen Consort, tried to weaponize public opinion against the future king. This isn't a misunderstanding. This isn't a son acting on impulse. This is an operation. When it failed, it didn't just fail. It backfired completely. The investigation exposed the entire machinery, and consequences fell directly on Camilla and her family. What's most striking is the absolute isolation Camilla found herself in. Charles, whom she presumably counted on for support, sided with William without hesitation. The evidence was too clear, the pattern too obvious. The king examined the documents, heard the testimonies, and made his choice. He chose his heir over his wife's son. He chose the future of the monarchy over Parker Bowles' family ambitions. In that moment, the power structure of the current royal family became evident to anyone paying attention. William isn't just the heir waiting his turn. He's already making the decisions that define who's inside and who's outside the institution. The isolation that followed for Camilla is almost as revealing as the confrontation itself. They didn't strip her title. There was no dramatic public announcement, but the invitations stopped coming. Private meetings became less frequent. The distance between her and the operational center of the monarchy widened week by week. This is how real power shifts happen in an institution like this, not always with a loud dramatic rupture. Sometimes it's just a series of closed-door meetings to which you're no longer invited. Meanwhile, William filled the space that opened. He presided over more events. He made more strategic decisions. The public began seeing him as who really runs the institution, while Charles managed his health and reduced schedule. The image that emerged from this entire episode is of an heir who understands that protecting the monarchy sometimes means making enemies within his own family. He didn't enjoy it. Reports make clear he felt no joy, only exhaustion and the weight of responsibility, but he did it anyway. There's something almost poetic about Tom Parker Bowles invoking Diana's name in his fury, and that being the moment the confrontation became irreversible. He thought he was landing a blow. Instead, he gave William the moral clarity to do what he was probably already inclined to do. Mentioning Diana, calling her a replacement, minimizing her role, this didn't weaken William's position, it strengthened it. It transformed the confrontation from a guest list dispute into something far larger, a question of legacy, of a mother who suffered, of a son who remembers everything. According to those present, staff members talked about it for days. The image of the heir to the throne, impassive and unmoved, at Windsor Castle's doors, watching security escort away his stepmother's son, that's an unforgettable moment for anyone working in that palace. It sends a message that transcends one evening. It makes clear to everyone in that environment where the boundaries are and who enforces them. Analyzing the situation as a whole, a charity gala meant to display unity and global philanthropy became the stage for a power struggle simmering for years. Camilla made her move. She pressured to get her son into the inner circle. William blocked it completely. Tom Parker Bowles showed up anyway, with an invitation he shouldn't have had. William threw him out physically. Tom Parker Bowles counterattacked through media. William traced it back to Camilla's office. Charles sided completely with William. Camilla's family was barred. Camilla herself was marginalized. And the monarchy moved forward with William commanding more firmly than ever. This isn't just family drama, it's an institutional power shift unfolding in real time. The king remains on the throne, but now it's the heir who sets the boundaries, and the message for anyone watching inside or outside the palace is that William will enforce those boundaries. He's not intimidated by uncomfortable headlines, anonymous posts, or whispered criticism. He's playing the long game, and he just won a round that will shape the monarchy's direction for years to come. The lights at Windsor Castle continued to burn that night, but everyone who witnessed what happened at those doors understood that something fundamental had changed. The question was no longer who was officially in charge. The question had become who was actually in control, and the answer was William.